Hello there, LTR SBG team fans and subscribers. Jason here, and we are back with our third army review. So, if you've tuned in, we have done two reviews so far, and the first was good, the second was evil, so we are going back to good. And we are going to be going with a army that is historically part of Gondor, and that is the Fiefdoms. So sit back, guys, grab some coffee, grab some paints, grab some snacks, and get ready to talk about the Fiefdoms. So I first want to give a shout out to Azrael94. He commented on the last review on the Easterlings, and him and I got a nice conversation going in the comments, and he said that Easterlings was one of his favorite armies. Just like me, it's one of the first ones he picked up and started painting when he was getting back into the game. He said it's really great seeing someone talk about it, so thank you for all those comments. Thanks for the conversation. I appreciate it. And he asked us actually to do, excuse me, I'm sorry. He asked us to actually do a review on the Fiefdoms, which is actually perfect timing. I was thinking about doing the Fiefdoms anyway, since they are, historically part of Gondor. And so, huge shout out to you, Azrael94. We are going to be talking about Fiefdoms today, and you're a big part of the reason why. So the Fiefdoms. Long ago, Gondor's rule stretched far and wide, all the way to the coast of Harad, all across Middle Earth. Unfortunately, with the loss of the breaking of the line of the kings, many of those countries and nations have lost their fealty to Gondor. However, there is a group of Fiefdoms that still remain strong, and I personally love Fiefdoms. I will say that after not being in the game for many years, I went to my first event in probably, almost a decade, and that was in 2017. And my army that I chose, it was a 700-point event, and I bought Prince Imrahil, Captain of Dolan Roth, and all Swan Knights mounted, and that was my army. And this was under the old rules where it wasn't as what do you call it? It wasn't as neat and put together as it is today. I would say the armies were a lot more loose, and especially with allying. You guys can probably imagine I did pretty bad. I won't lie. But hey, it's my first event in forever. So it's not like I was going in there to win. I was just going in there to have some fun, meet some people, and go from there. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and get into it. We'll talk heroes, like always, first, then the warriors, and last but not least, strengths, weaknesses, and then my personal experience with the army. So, Fiefdoms heroes, it literally begins and ends with their biggest, baddest hero, and that would be Prince Imrahil of Dolan Roth. In my opinion, Imrahil is just a mini Aragorn. The only thing he lacks compared to Aragorn is the fact that he obviously doesn't have a mighty hero. So you're only going to be having those 3 mights. But his stat line compared to Aragorn is almost the exact same. He's got 3s across the board where you want it. He's got that strong defensive 7, and while he doesn't have a crazy killing sword, wounding anything on 4-ups, he does have a lance, making his strength 4 nothing to laugh at when charging in against higher defense models like defense 8 Iron Hills or I just drew a blank. The dwarfs, or defense 8 dwarves. Anything like that, he's going to be wounding those on 5 still, which, you would prefer a hero to be wounding something on preferably 4s, but alas, not everything out there is defense 6 where you can get that. But having that lance is huge. He can be put on an armored horse too, obviously. and he is a hero legend, so he's going to be auto-passing his first courage check, which is huge because his first special rule is the lineage of Numenor. So his stand fast is 12 inches rather than 6, and that's really big because shout out to Top Tellable Gamings and Stephen Crow, but he's made it clear you got to remember that for stand fast, you have to have line of sight to the hero. So Imrahil having that 12-inch range can be really big, especially if you can keep him on his horse, because then you've got that elevated line of sight. His next specialty, or his next special rule, is Dolam Roth for Gondor. And all captains of Dolan Roth, knights of Dolan Roth, and men at arms of Dolan Roth within 12 inches of Prince Imrahil count as being in range of a banner. Wow. Let me say it again. 12 inches. You're talking about a 24-inch diameter. You can essentially almost put them in the middle of a half of a board and almost cover the entire area with a banner reroll. That is huge, really huge, because they are men. The biggest thing that men lack, is the fact that they're all strength 3 except for the heroes. So if you're going up against a defense 6 shield wall, or worse, like defense 8 Iron Hills dwarves, you're going to have a hard time cracking that. And the ability to basically make your own shield wall if you so choose, and then therefore get multiple get rerolls, is really big. That gives you a better chance of getting wounds because you have a better chance of winning the fights. So Prince Imrahil, he is the main guy. If you're building a strictly Fiefdoms army, you are taking Prince Imrahil because, let's be honest, if you're not, I'm going to call you crazy. Yeah. All right. So moving on from there. So that's like their big hero. They have one big hero. They have 4 other heroes. One of them just being a no-name captain of Dolan Roth. And since we mentioned him in Prince Imrahil's profile, we'll go ahead and talk about him real quick. Captain of Dolan Roth, they are pretty good. I won't lie. They got better in this edition. In the old edition, they only fight 4. Now that they've been buffed up to fight 5, that is huge. They are defense 7. You can put them on an armored horse with lance, just like Imrahil. So they can kind of be little mini Imrahils running around. They are kind of expensive, fully kitted with that. But in my opinion, if you use them right, they can do a lot of damage. Their biggest special rule is that they have the pride of Dolan Roth, and a model with this special rule that is within 3 inches of Prince Imrahil of Dolan Roth adds +1 to their fight value. Yeah, you heard that right. +1 to your fight value. So you're talking about a no-name captain being fight 6 if he's within 3 inches of Imrahil. Let that sink in, because you are therefore the same fight value as many other. You're higher fight value with that bonus than any hero in Rohan. Any hero. They'd have to strike. You are equal fight value to many of the elves in, high elves or Lothlorien. I mean, you're talking about being the same as the crazy monkey twins, Eladin and Elrond here. You're talking about being the same as Aristor. You're talking about being the same as, I think Celeborn's only fight 6 too, if I remember right. So you're talking about something where a captain normally cannot strike. Yeah, he's the same as, Celeborn, Hrumil, Haldir, just a regular elven captain, even Galadriel. In a situation where the captain of Dolan Roth cannot strike because he doesn't have that, that's huge. Because now you are making it so that you can go in there and really do some damage. You can really go in and you can be a really good troop muncher with that, or you can go in there and take out, minor heroes like the next hero we're going to talk about. And his comparisons, like Forlong the Fat, who's only fight 5. So other heroes like Forlong the Fat that are fight 5 and don't have strike and can't strike up, they would bow down to this hero, to the captain of Dolan Roth, if he's within 3 inches of Imrahil being fight 6. So that's huge. Just a quick note, I didn't talk about the heroic actions for Prince Imrahil, but he's got strike, resolve, strength, and defense. And I think that's probably about what you would expect from him. Like I said, he's kind of a mini Aragorn. He's not going to have all the heroics. lacking march, but that's why you take a captain. By having resolve, which gives all your models, I believe he calls it within 6 inches. I've never done heroic resolve, I'll be honest, but that gives you magic resistance, I believe, or resistance to magic. So if you're going up against a cast heavy army, that could be actually something really good to call for a point of might with him. And then of course he's got strike and then strength and defense because he is a big baddie and he's going to come in and do some damage. And that's something you could use. You could do it. You could do a heroic strength and potentially get up to strength 7. So you'd be wounding something that's defense 9 naturally with strength 7 on 5s in, and then with the lance you can charge in your wounding 4. So that's something you could think about doing to crack a hardened army that is defense 8, defense 9. So moving on, we're going to talk about Forlong, like I just alluded to. And Forlong is actually one of my favorite heroes from the Fiefdoms. To me, it goes Prince Immerhill, of course. Again, I think if you're not taking Prince Immerhill in a Fiefdoms army, you're crazy. That's just my opinion. If you're taking pure fiefdoms, that is. I mean, if you're allying in, maybe not. But if you're taking pure fiefdoms, I feel like you really kind of have to take Prince Immerhill because he's the glue that holds the whole army together if you're taking certain things. But Forlong the Fat is my second favorite because to me, Forlong the Fat brings so much to the table for his points that you really, again, he's an auto take for me. He really is. These two heroes, the first two heroes on the page in the army are my go-to guys, and that's because Forlong the Fat, he got better in this edition too. He's been pointed up to Fight 5. I think he was Fight 4 before. He might have been Fight 5. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember for 100%. But he's Strength 5, which is huge. I mean, that's nothing to laugh at. And then he's got a War Spear. So you're talking about a guy who can go in against Defense 7 and on the charge wound him on 4s. So things like Army of the Dead, that, if you don't give an Army of the Dead guy a shield, so he's only defense 7, which again, I think you should give Army of the Dead a shield. Why not? If you can be defense 8 troops, yes. But he's going in against, like, say, Army of the Dead at defense 7, or Durin's Folk at defense 7. Iron Hills that's not in a shield wall, defense 7. And he's cracking them on 4s. That is really, really good. He has 3 wounds, which is kind of surprising, but I guess that's kind of, he gets a little bit of like a fat save, so to say, like the Goblin King being of such immense girth. And that's literally in his profile too. It is about his immense girth. So yeah, he's got 3 wounds. He's got a sword. He's got a War Spear, but again, I think you're probably going to use the War Spear because that can double. That's a lance when you're mounted and charging, or on foot, it counts as a spear. And then the last thing that I think is really good for him, and this is why he got a bit of a points up from the old edition, is he's finally been given a Warhorn. He's always had this Warhorn in the foot model because I don't think a mounted model was ever released. The only way you get that is through unreleased miniatures. But he's finally got a Warhorn, and that is huge because that makes things like, courage checks with someone like Prince Immerhill pretty much an auto pass. You need Snake Eyes to fail then. And that can really help with other things in the army, like the Blackroot Vale Archers, which we'll get to, that are only courage 2. And I mean, when you're talking about making your troops potentially courage 5, that's huge. So yeah, I really like him. He's only got 1 heroic other than the base, 3 that you get, and that's heroic strength. But again, that makes sense because at Strength 5, they're showing you that he's using his immense girth. It's thematic. He's using his immense size and strength. And, I mean, let's talk about it. You could be Strength 8, potentially, using a heroic strength. With +1 to wound, you're going into Defense 6 or Defense 7 heroes at Strength 8, and you're wounding them on 4s or 3s with, 3s or 2s. If you're Defense 6, Strength 8 with a heroic strength, strength 8 on defense 6s, you're winning on 3s, +1 with the War Spear, you're winning on 2s. How often do you see that? So I mean, really good there. His special rule is the Lord of Lasarnak, and that's simply that Axeman of Lasarnak within 6 inches of Forlong the Fat must reroll. Keyword there is must. So it's no, I'm trying not to break you. Must reroll results of a 1 when rolling to wound during the fight phase. So again, this is another guy that is an auto take for me for my fiefdoms list when I play that. Moving on, you have Ambor the Fearless, and he's got a very high courage at courage 5 because he is the Fearless, and him and his guys, the Clansmen on Lamadon, are both courage 5. So you're talking about being able to get courage 6 there with the Warhorn if you take Forlong the Fat. So he's more along the stats of a Captain of Dolan Roth. His Might Will Fate's a little different. He's a 2-3-1. He's got a couple extra points of will because of the fact that he is fearless, and that is really good for him because that can really help for AOE spells, area of effect, resistance. And he can get a couple more points of will to resist against it because, like the captain, Forlong only has 1 point of will to resist. So your big guy for resisting spells is going to be Emmer. So if you're thinking about taking an army, I almost think Ambor is a good take. I mean, his biggest weakness is the fact he's only defense 5 with 1 fate and 2 wounds. But that's nothing. That's just a typical captain profile. So he's got the typical captain profile with a couple points of extra points of will and some better courage. And then he actually has a broadsword. So it's under his war gear, and it's a 2-handed sword. If you're fighting with it and you roll a 6 naturally, you don't take the -1 for going 2-handed. So he does have to go 2-handed every time, which can be a pain in the butt, especially if you roll low like I do. But that can be mitigated with banner rerolls. So you could potentially, you got 2 points of might too if you need to make a 5-6 to keep it. Or make to make a 5, it'd be a 4. Go back to 5. Yeah, it's a natural roll. That's the key word to that, is a natural roll of a 6. So he does have heroic strike. So you've got 2 strikers in this list, which, again, the fact he's only on foot, he can't be mounted. That can kind of be painful because you're not going to get that knockdown ability. You're not going to get that +1 to wound. However, but since you are going 2-handed, you have to go 2-handed with this broadsword. You could get the +1 to wound there pretty easily because every time you're going +1 without needing to charge. Again, the biggest weakness is you need to get that natural 6 in order not to take the -1 modifier. So another big special for him is he's fearless. So terror armies don't care about it. He don't care. Armies of the Dead, the Black Riders, Legendary Legion that's new, don't care about that. Wraiths, don't care about that. Scary lists like Angmar, don't care about that. He's just charging right in. He's fearless. And that goes with his special rule of Chief of Lamadon. And all Clansmen of Lamadon within 6 inches of Ambor the Fearless gain the Fearless special rule. So these are kind of squishy models. We'll get to them later. But the fact that you could get a 12-inch diameter Fearless bubble can be really good. You've got some synergy there with these heroes to their relevant troops. So moving on, we have Dune here. One of my favorite models in the game. And it's only because of the fact that he can do some really, really nasty things in shooting. Biggest thing I hate about him, he's only courage 3. Ew. Let's just put it that way. Ew. But, again, if you're taking this list, you're probably going to be taking Forlong. So I've seen it, people take one or the other. They either take Ambor the Fearless, or they take Dune here, and they take the relevant troops to go with them to get their buffs. So Dune here, usually Forlong the Fat, and you're talking about Courage 4 with that Warhorn. So that's a little bit better. He can also get a Warhorn taken. I'm sorry, you can't benefit from 2 Warhorns, but you could take a Warhorn if you don't take Forlong. I was thinking for a second you could take 2 Warhorns. I don't know why I was thinking that. That's not a thing. But if you don't take Forlong, you could potentially take a Warhorn with Blackroot Vale Archers or Knights of Dolan Roth. So Dune here, he's a typical captain model with his stats. 3-up shoot value because he's an archer. He comes from the Blackroot Vales. He's got armor, sword, bow, and spear. So he's only got 2 attack, 2 will, like I said, and then his might, will, fate's that of a normal captain. Pretty cheap. He is the cheapest hero. And if you can get his little special rules to work together with the Blackroot Vale Archers, that's really good. So we'll cover the Blackroot Vale Archers in a little bit. But he has Mountain Dweller, which is nice because, like I said, he comes from Blackroot Vale. Blackroot Vale is the Vale right outside of Dunharrow. So I think the reason their courage is so low is because of the fact that they're always dealing with this ominous presence of the dead of Dunharrow forever and a day, wafting over them day in, day out, year in, year out for these centuries on centuries since they betrayed Isildur. So, talk about his heroics. He's got heroic accuracy, heroic defense. Accuracy makes sense for in the ways, because I think no, he used to have a bonus where he could do something special. I think that's the old edition. But having accuracy, having defense, that makes sense because defense is usually something you see on the smaller tier heroes that are squishy. Think of your gambling with the banner, the royal banner. He has heroic defense. Think of who else? I think Hammer has heroic defense. The new I cannot remember his name right now, but the new Dunlending hero, the one with 3 attacks, Goroth, Ironskin, can do heroic defense for free. But yeah, usually those squishier ones with the defense 5, they get the heroic defense. Alright, so moving on to a specialist. He's got Mountain Dweller, like I already said. Then he's got Go for the Eyes, and it's an active skill. When shooting, Dune here can reroll failed to wound rolls. Additionally, when shooting at a monster model, wounds caused by Dune here's shooting attacks cause D3 wounds rather than 1. Not bad. Strength 2 bow. I mean, most monsters are going to be defense 7 unless you're talking about cave trolls or Dweller in the Dark or the ogres, the Gundabad ogres. So those are ones that are defense 5, defense 6, where you have a better chance of wounding on a natural 6 or with a point of might. It's all right. I will say I have used that rule a few times against eagles, and the ability to re-roll and then do D3 wounds. He's never done D3 wounds. Nope, never. He always fails miserably. It's usually one of the Blackroot Vale archers that are doing that. And last but not least, he has Lord of the Blackroot Vale, and that is Blackroot Vale archers within 6 inches of Dune here that did not move during the move phase may reroll 1s to hit during the shoot phase. And that's huge because they are a 3-up shoot value, which means that anything but a 2 they're going to hit, and on 1s they're going to re-roll. So they've got a really good chance. So normally 3-up, 66% chance. That ability to re-roll the 1, I think, pushes it closer to 75, maybe almost 80%. I'm not going to try and figure out the statistics right now, but it's in that 75 to 80% chance range to hit, which is really, really good. So like I said, Dune here is one of my favorites to take because if you can get enough Blackroot Vale archers in and use that combo with the Blackroot Vale archers, then Blackroot Vale archers, we'll go to them since we're talking about them. They're just a typical, they are basically rangers of Middle Earth, rangers of Gondor. Rangers of Gondor, except that their fight value is not 4, it's 3, and their courage is 2. Yeah, pretty yucky. Same points value, but they have Mountain Dweller, and then they have Dead Eye Shot. And that is when benefiting from a heroic shoot, this model may re-roll failed to wound rolls when making shooting attacks. So this is what I'm talking about, that combo you can do. If you have a good bit of them next to Dune here, and they don't move, you're re-rolling 1s to hit, and you're re-rolling failed wounds. So you're bumping from a 66% chance to hit to closer to a 75 to 80, like I said. And then if you're shooting something that's defense 6 and you need naturals, or basically 5 and above, 5 or 6, and you need 6s, it's a 16% chance. Being able to reroll failed wounds, you bump it up closer to a 22% chance to wound. 22, 23. That's pretty darn good. So I have actually taken that combo before, and I did pretty good. I was trying to shoot eagles, though, which are strength or defense 7. Yes. Yeah, it might be defense 8. I think they're defense 8. I think it's defense 7 because I needed 6s by 5s, which would be defensive 7 on strength of 2 would be 6s by 5s. So that would make sense right there. Trying to check. Yeah, they're defense 8. Oh wow, defense 8, 6 point difference. So I guess I needed what, sixes by sixes? Dang, that hurts. Yeah. So anyway, you see my point there, right there. It's really it can be really hard to wound things, but being able to re-roll everything can kind of help. Um, anyway, moving on. So that's the Blackroot Vale Archers. That's their bonus. So we're going to go to Clansmen of Lamadon. I'm actually kind of moving backwards here through the book. So Clansmen of Lamadon. And these are the guys that Ambor the Fearless leads. And they have the same thing as him. They've got armor and a broadsword. So the broadsword, again, does the same thing. They have to go two-handed, but if they roll a 6, then they don't take the -1 modifier. Um, they have their special rule is the Honor of Lamadon. And Clansmen of Lamadon within 6 inches of Ambor the Fearless count as being in range of a banner. So not only are they fearless, but they also get a banner effect if they're within 6 inches of Ambor. Can you guys kind of see one of the strengths of this list? I haven't even gotten there yet, but you can kind of tell by listening and following along. This army has a lot of synergy. Yeah, they only have one big kick butt hero in Emmer, but they have a lot of synergy with their units, their requisite units. So you've got the Clansmen of Lamadon being able to not only be fearless, but they get to be a banner effect. You've got the Blackroot Vale Archers, which when they take part of Heroic Shoot, which you're going to do with Dune here most likely, get to reroll failed wounds. And then Dune here gives them the ability to reroll ones if they don't move and they're within 6 inches of him. So there's a lot of synergy going on here. So the next model is the Axeman of Larsarnak. I'm sorry. I've been saying it wrong for a long time. So they have heavy armor, axe of Larsarnak, and dagger. And the axe can basically be either a spear or a two-handed axe. And you can change it out with a banner if you want to do so. And don't forget, they are the ones that get to, they get plus, or not plus one, I'm sorry, they get to re-roll ones to wound when they're within 6 inches of Forlong the Fat. They must re-roll ones to wound. All right, then we have Men-at-Arms of Dolan Roth. And these guys are basically, they're the spear supports that you would expect to have from Minas Tirith. So they are only defense 5 because they can't take a shield, but because they can't take a shield, they get a pike, and that is one of their advantages. So they have heavy armor, sword, and a pike. That's all in their war gear profile. So they could draw their sword and feint if you need to use them for the front line, and you can do so. Pretty good because I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on this, but I think no, there's one of the army. I was going to say they're the only ones, but the Galadrim Royal Guard, for elves can take pikes. I believe that's in their profile. The Guard of the Galadrim Court, yeah, they have pikes in their profile. So they and Men at Arms, I believe, are the only ones for good armies that can take pikes, and that's pretty big. So again, when they're within 12 inches of Prince Imrahil, they can re-roll a dice in combat. So one guy is basically getting 2 dice. So if you're going with a typical pike block, which would be front line and then 2 pikes behind, and I've seen it be a front line being Knights of Dolan Roth or a front line being Axemen of Larsarnak, which not a bad idea. I mean, you're going to be defense 5, so you're going to be hurting against basically strength 3, strength 4. That being said, though, if you go 3 deep and then you have the banner effect, you're essentially throwing 4 dice in the battle, and that's not a bad thing. And if you've got that Axeman of Larsarnak in the front line, he can go ahead and use that two-handed axe as a two-handed axe. So you actually are going to get that +1 to wound. So you're going to have a good chance of beating other shield walls because you're going to have 4, so to speak, dice in the fight if you're within 12 inches of Prince Imrahil. And let's be honest, if you've got Prince Imrahil not in a good position to use that 12-inch range, you're probably not playing the army right. You might want to rethink your tactics a wee bit. But you're going to have 4 dice in the fight with one guy doing +1 to wound. So you've got a very good chance to win, and you're increasing your chances to wound by throwing an Axeman of Larsarnak in the front line. And that leads us to our last profile, and that is the Knight of Dolan Roth. So the Knight of Dolan Roth has gotten a huge points increase from the last one. I will say I used to run a pike wall with the Axemen. I'm sorry, not the Axemen. The Knights of Dolan Roth on foot, And I have many of the models, many of the old metal ones. I found a huge lot of them on eBay a long time ago when I was getting back in 2015, 2016. And I have them all painted up, and I used to use them a lot, and that was the only army I played was Fiefdoms because I could do the fence 6, shield wall, pike wall, just like Minas Tirith, which is one of my other favorite armies when I was getting back in. But I'm fight 4, and I get a banner reroll with Emmer, and I can go 3 deep. Yeah. So, unfortunately, they are now much too expensive to do that. They have been pointed up way too much, in my opinion. I think they're 3 points more expensive now than maybe it's only 2, but I digress. They have a reason for that. Usually when you see these guys, they're on armored horse with a lance, so they get to be pretty expensive. You're talking about a model being the same amount of points as a Rivendell Knight. So, and he doesn't have nearly as much advantage because no shooting ability and no fight 5. Or does he have fight 5? Okay, so the thing I didn't talk about for men at arms is the same thing that warriors of Fiefdoms, the Knights of Dolan Roth have. So the Knights of Dolan Roth, the Captain of Dolan Roth, and the men at arms of Dolan Roth all have the same special rule, and that is the Pride of Dolan Roth. And that again is when they are within 3 inches of Emmer, they add +1 to their fight value. So like I was saying earlier, with the Captain of Dolan Roth potentially being fight 6, you can have fight 5 men at arms or fight 5 Knights of Dolan Roth. And I've seen a lot of reports coming from I think the Great British Hobbit League that has said that the more Knights of Dolan Roth you can get, the better, because the more you can get around Prince Imrahil, the more you're going to be able to maximize that fight 5, the more you're going to be able to most likely win against any army other than, say, elves, because elves are the only army, pretty sure they're the only army, unless I'm missing something, but they're the only army that their base troops are fight 5. So you're going to have a very good chance of winning fights. So you're going to charge in, you're going to have 2 dice, you're going to have a third one with a banner reroll, so you're, so to speak, having 3 dice in a fight. I mean, that's the same as a captain charging in. So now you got your captain charging in, he's got 4 dice, so to speak. That's the same amount of dice as Imrahil charging in. So you can see this little bit of synergy going here, guys. I've played before where, unfortunately, it was a bottleneck, and I could either go 2 wide with cavalry or go 4 wide with infantry, and I decided that the smarter play was to go 4 wide with cavalry and build up a pike block and have 3 pikes on the outside, 2 pikes, 3 deep on the outside with my pike line in an L, because they just got to be base to base in order to get the support. That way I could back a guy away and then only go 2 deep in the middle. And then just sit Imrahil nearby. Sit him within range, not only for the 12-inch banner, but also for the fight 5. The +1 to the fight value is huge. And I was beating things back. I was able to whittle my way through that corridor, that bottleneck, because of the fact that I had the fight 5 and I was winning the fights. That's really big. So that's all the profiles, guys. I do want to go over one last thing that really makes this army good. So the army bonus is for the White City. And then this is special rules marked with an asterisk affect all models from this army list, not just the ones listed. So you're probably sitting here thinking, well, what are you talking about? You haven't said anything about asterisks. Well, you're right, I haven't. And that's because I was saving this for the last. So here are the special rules that are marked with an asterisk. Prince Imrahil of Dolan Roth. Dolan Roth for Gondor. Captains of Dolan Roth. Captains of Dolan Roth, Knights of Dolan Roth, Men at Arms of Dolan Roth within 12 inches of Prince Imrahil count as being in range of a banner. That's an asterisk special rule. All models get this now. So all models in the list are within range of a banner. That's huge, because that means that Prince Imrahil now gets to banner himself. So he's got 5 dice, quote unquote, in the fight. That also gives the same thing to your heroes, including Forlong the Fat, or Ambor the Fearless, or Dune. Or you can talk about your warriors, and you can give it to Clansmen of Lamadon, or Axemen of Larsarnak. Pretty good. Forlong the Fat, the Lord of Larsarnak. Axemen of Larsarnak within 6 inches of Forlong the Fat must reroll results of a 1 when rolling to wound during the fight phase. That affects every model. So now you've got your big hero Prince Imrahil charging in within 6 inches of Forlong the Fat, and does what I always do and rolls 8 dice, needing probably just 1 5 to kill something, and rolls 6 1s. I kid you not, I do this on a regular basis. So now I can re-roll all those 1s, and now I have a better chance of getting one of those 5s. Okay, that's huge. You also give that to the captain of Dolan Roth. You give that to Knights of Dolan Roth. Anything that can get a +1 to fight value. And he gives it to himself again. At strength 5 with a war spear, you're talking about increasing your killing power there. Ambor the Fearless, Chief of Lamedon. Clansmen of Lamedon within 6 inches of Ambor the Fearless gain the Fearless special rule. All models are now fearless within 6 inches of Ambor the Fearless. Where's those terror armies? Oh, we don't care. We've got Ambor the Fearless. And you know what? Just to be sure I'm safe, I'll hide him behind my pipeline because I'm within 6 inches and I'm just going to charge you and take you on. They don't care anymore. Do you see the synergy coming here? Dune here. Lord of the Blackroot Vale. Blackroot Vale archers within 6 inches of Dune here that did not move during the move phase may reroll 1s to hit during the shoot phase. Okay, so this one is more, it's going to affect Dune here now. So Dune here gets to reroll 1s to shoot, or to hit in the shoot phase if he doesn't move. So not as great, doesn't affect everybody because unfortunately nobody in this list has throwing weapons. But that means that Dune here is now rerolling 1s to hit, which increases his hitting ability as well. So that's all the heroes. That's the asterisks. That goes straight into the strength like I was talking about. You have a lot of synergy. So as long as you can keep your army bonus, you're going to be able to really build a very synergistic list. I don't know if that's a word, but I like the sound of it. So we're going to say it's a word. Another advantage to this list is they actually have some really good allies. You can ally them with Minas Tirith, and you can ally them with Rohan for green alliances to maintain it. And that sort of alliance can actually pick up and eliminate some of the weaknesses that this list has. Weaknesses. So the biggest weakness is the fact that you only have one really good beat stick hero, and then the others are more of a finesse support type. So again, you have a second striker with Ambor the Fearless, but he's not really one that you're expecting to go in and strike with and do a lot of damage. Sorry, I had to sit up. Because of the fact that he's not going to get any knockdown powers. Yeah, he's going to have the +1 to wound, but he's also taking that -1 because of the broadsword two-handed. So being able to ally and say, how about Rohan? Let's bring in Théoden. Why not? And Théoden can lead some cheaper, cav. He can lead some 15-point Royal Guard or 14-point. I think they're 14-point. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'm tired and old. I can't remember nothing anymore. But Riders Rohan. So you can get some cheap troops, cheap cavalry, as opposed to having to take very expensive, Knights of Dolan Roth. And how about this? How about let's bring in Boromir. Let's ally Boromir in from Minas Tirith. And Boromir can just lead warriors of Minas Tirith with shield. So you're going to have a defense 6 front line now that is 3 points cheaper than if you put a 3 points cheaper than if you put a Knight of Dolan Roth on foot, because Knight of Dolan Roth on foot is expensive. Like I said, they got pointed up, but their special rule where they get +1 to their fight value is huge. Plus, again, that banner from Boromir affects fiefdoms, because fiefdoms all have the Gondor keyword. So you can stack the banner +1, the banner of the White Tower. I can't think of the name of it right now. Gosh, I'm sorry. Banner of Minas Tirith. I don't know why I thought Banner of White Tower, but the Banner of Minas Tirith +1 fight value to all Gondor warriors. You can give that to men at arms. And then you can give them a +1 fight value for being within 3 inches of Prince Emmer. You're talking about fight 6. So now you're out fighting elven warriors. There's a lot of synergy that can be built. I think that's its biggest strength. On the weaknesses, like I said, there's only if you take them pure, there's only one big hero. They do have some low courage with their archery, so you really need to take either a Warhorn or take Forlong and Fat. And they are a smaller army. They're kind of like they're better than the Easterlings in terms of troops and stuff, but they only have 5 heroes, including one unnamed captain, and then 5 troop types. So they are more of a niche army. They're not really big. They're not like what you would call fleshed out. Um, they are defense 5 or lower in the case of Clansmen of Lambdon and Blackroot Vale archers. Uh, the good thing they are, except for the archers, fight 4 across the board, potentially higher, like I said, with the bonuses. So yeah, I think weaknesses wise, they can be mitigated. Their heavy troopers are extremely expensive with the Knights of Dolan and Roth. So my personal experience with them. So I said at the beginning, I love Fiefdoms. So I took Fiefdoms and I was playing them. Like I said, the first event I went to was just Emmer, a captain, and then all mounted Knights of Dolan and Roth. Came in 11th out of 12 there. Tied my first game, said, hey, I'm kind of good at this. Proceeded to get tabled in turn 2, then round 2. Had a close game in round 3. Sorry, a little tech difficulty. Got tabled round 2. Got close game in round 3, but I ended up losing. So I was 0-1-2 or 0-2-1, however the tie. I think it's 0-2-1. 2 losses, 1 tie, and it was a good time. It was a fun event. I actually ended up continuing to play on with Fiefdoms for a long time, and I won first place with them. I did cheat a little bit. I allied in Boromir, and this is in the old edition, before the new allying rules came out. But I allied in Boromir from the Fellowship, so I could add some might and also a little bit of hitting power. And he really helped that army out. But I took first place with that. Took it to Nova, went 2-3. Wasn't bad. Did pretty. Felt happy. First time I had ever been to Nova, so I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. Then I started dabbling with a Minas Tirith Fiefdoms combo, and that worked out pretty well. I actually was close to placing at one event with it. No. The first time I did it, I was still learning it. So that was like Fords of Potomac 3, I think, and I ended up going 1 win, 2 losses, and my first loss was really close. My second loss, unfortunately, I broke my opponent way too quickly without being able to jump on all the objectives, and then the game ended on the dice roll. And then my third one, I won really good. So then I started playing around with Gondor Fiefdoms Rohan, and won 3rd place with that at an event in Nashville, and got 4th at the Ringo South last year with it. I was only 1 VP away. I needed 1 more victory point to actually make 3rd place, or maybe even 2nd. I can't remember, but I did really good. I had 3 wins, a tie, and a loss there. And I think if I had scored 1 VP in that tie, I would have gotten a minor victory, which would have actually put me in 3rd place. And I really enjoyed them. I've kind of shelved that idea of playing the 3 of them combined, especially with the new rules, because what I was doing was allying in Durnhelm, who's a minor hero, and just taking 3, bodyguarded Royal Guard for some fight 4 and defense 6, slightly light cav shock troopers, and then 3 Riders of Rohan for some mobility and shooting, so for some kiting ability. But now that you have to take a hero, I think that's a hero of valor. Yeah, I think you have to take I can't remember exactly. I think you have to take a hero. Yeah, valor. A hero of valor or better when you're allying. I can no longer do that combo. So I have toyed around a little bit with the list with Théoden, but I haven't tried it at any events, and I've tried it once in I think twice in practice games, and it did okay. But I think the best way to play him is maybe pure, or allying him with Boromir or Aragorn or somebody like that from Minas Tirith, and maximizing the cheaper defense 6 8-point models that you can get with Warriors and Minas Tirith to really get that pipeline going. So that is everything. This one, it looks like these are going to go about 45 minutes every time. So again, shout out to Asriel94 from YouTube for our conversation we had and for bringing up and asking about doing this review. I appreciate that. Look forward to having some more conversations with you. As always, guys, thanks for tuning in and sticking through this. If you have any suggestions, any comments, or anything like that, please leave them below. And have some fun wargaming, guys. Take it easy.